Happy holidays, everyone, and welcome back to the Mindful Journey podcast. I'm your host, Sana, as always, and let's set the holiday vibe here. Now, this time of the year is peak reset energy, but it also comes with real stuff: family dynamics, end of year pressure, money stress, loneliness, big reflections. So, today's episode is all about using mental and physical fitness as a practical lever to change where your life is headed. Not in a toxic, new year, new you way, but in a grounded, small inputs, big trajectory way. And listeners, we are talking about mental and physical fitness and how they literally alter our life's trajectory, but we're doing it with someone who has lived the long game. Now, listeners, my guest Rich Ashton spent 45 years owning and operating small businesses. Along the way, he hit a problem a lot of founders and leaders know too well. Either hire outside leaders who look great on paper but don't fit your culture, or promote loyal high performers who are not fully ready to lead. Rich built a leadership training program in his own company to solve it. And it worked so well that he was able to retire and hand management to the leadership team he developed. He wrote a book about it called Growing Your Own, which people describe as practical, actionable, and rooted in real world experience. So, listeners, let's get ready for the conversation. So, Rich, welcome to the Mindful Journey. And as always, it's an honor to have you here with us.
Thanks. I'm happy to be back.
Okay. Um, so, uh, Rich, before we get into the questions and the discussion here, um, let's start with first understanding mental fitness here because I believe all of our listeners will be knowing about physical fitness, but then how exactly do you define both of them here?
So, mental fitness is a little bit different. I was very lucky early in my career to work for a brilliant young guy who pulled me aside and he said, you don't have broad knowledge, particularly about business. And what I'd like you to do is to begin a program of reading. And he said, I want you to read 5 business magazines a week, and I want you to read the Wall Street Journal every day. I began a reading program, and that's been 45 or 50 years ago. I began that program. I'm grateful for him to getting me started on that program, but I make it a point to read on a variety of subjects, some having to do with business, some having to do with personal life. A particular interest of mine at this age is longevity, so I've read quite a bit on that, and
Uh,
I find that that has led me to a level of mental fitness that I otherwise would not have achieved.
that's really really super. And one question that comes to my mind, Rich, is what was your first instant reaction when you were told by this young brilliant guy that you still do not have a good knowledge about business? Was it more of like a defensive kind of nudge within you? Oh my goodness, are you telling me that I'm not a good business person? Or was it something that you kind of admitted that, yes, this is a drawback and I need to work on this?
Oh, there was no question. He was right. I knew he was right. And I had dropped out of college. I was not mature enough to be in college, and so after 2 years, I had dropped out. I had served in the Navy then for a while, and
Yeah.
when I worked for him, I was really brand new to business, and, I knew virtually nothing. It was
Mhm.
that gap was compounded by the fact that I was the only non-MBA in the company, and so I was surrounded by people who knew a whole lot about a lot of things, and I was grateful to have a way to try to catch up.
I can definitely connect with that. Definitely connect with that. Okay, great. So, also, Rich, I mean, when you look back, like um, let's first kind of try to understand. Like, was there any moment where your mental or physical state clearly changed a decision you made, for better or worse?
Oh, I'll bet you there's lots of moments. I just think that as a leader, the more you know, the more likely you are to be able to connect with a variety of people. When you connect with people, you can influence them. And
Mm.
so all along the way, I've had many, many moments where the the amount of information that I've acquired over the years has really benefited me. So I think that's probably the best answer I can give you to that.
Yeah, I agree. And why I specifically asked you that question in the beginning is, sometimes, um, I mean, definitely it's kind of an unhealthy practice to always judge yourself. But then sometimes, um, you'll be facing situations where you may have to face constructive criticism that, you are still not very much skilled in this particular thing, or maybe you're not yet fully developed or mature enough to look at this particular challenge in your life. Maybe it's in your work or personal life. And sometimes we really become kind of defensive. We try to believe, we think that the person or the situation is kind of attacking upon us. So I think that's where a lot of mental fitness, comes into the picture. It has a huge role to perform there. And the way, how we perceive those criticisms or those, opinions. Hey, listen, if you are enjoying the mindful journey, take 2 seconds to follow or subscribe wherever you are listening. It helps the show reach more people who need a softer, steadier space to land. And if he can leave a quick review, it seriously make a difference. Now, let's get back to the conversation.
Yeah, I certainly agree with you, and I would say that early in my career, I tended to be more defensive.
Mm.
But I learned from watching other people interact and interact effectively, and I
Mm.
changed my style. I used to be far more harsh in dealing with people and very cut and dried, very black and white, and this is right and this is wrong. I no longer feel that way. I think there are a lot of approaches to solving problems, and I guess my wife had the biggest influence on me in the area of kindness. She's a very kind person, and I think if you approach um, criticism or differences of opinion from a position of kindness, I think there is a far greater opportunity to actually get somewhere with that conversation than with the harshness I used to go at it with.
That's a beautiful reflection, Rich. And I think it's such a beautiful kind of amalgamation of masculine and feminine energy in there.
Well, I'm very fortunate to be married to somebody who is quite different from me. She has no interest in business whatsoever,
Oh.
but her strengths generally are my weaknesses, and my weaknesses are her strengths, so or vice versa. It's lasted 44 years, so something is really good about that relationship.
God bless. God bless, Rich. Okay, moving on. Okay, there's another kind of a huge debate on this. In fact, I myself, I've been a part of this debate with so many of my ex colleagues or friends out there, that some people swear pressure makes them sharper. Others say it makes them reckless. Some would say that I perform the best in pressure. Some would say I absolutely crumble down when I'm pressurized. Which one were you or are you? And did that change over time?
No, I think pressure unlocks a creativity and a drive in me that has always been beneficial. So I'm one of those who would say that I'm way better under pressure. I take pride in my ability to react under pressure, and so I've faced lots of pressure situations in my life. I am definitely one who favors pressure.
But then, I mean, it depends on person to person, right?
Oh, absolutely. There are people who do wilt under pressure, and it's good not to put them in high pressure situations.
Hmm. Hmm. And, uh, when we talk about mental fitness in the realm of leadership infrastructure, Are there any specific mental fitness habits that you personally relied on as an owner? I don't mean like, just positive thinking, but like concrete behaviors that helped you stay steady.
Well, I go back to the program of gathering information. I practice what I call intellectual curiosity. I wanna know as much about as many things as I possibly can, both because it's interesting, it has certainly unlocked potential in me that I didn't know I had, and I make it a point to read opinions that vary from mine, so
Mhm.
that I fully understand both sides of an issue. In today's society, conflict is everywhere and it's highly unproductive. So understanding is the way to make progress. And even when I disagree with opinions from a different direction, I think it helps me understand why they got to the opinion they got to.
Hmm. Hmm. And some people think that, specifically as we are on the mindful journey, mindfulness, it makes leaders too soft, um, you hesitate. I would love to know, Rich, what's your response to that? Like, do you think that, as you mentioned about the beautiful equation, with your wife, how she teaches you kindness, do you think empathy ever gets in the way of accountability?
Well, I think it can, and I think you have to be very clear about what outcome it is you desire. So when I have a conversation with someone that's a difficult conversation, I like to talk at the very outset about what a resolution would really look like. Now, maybe that sounds soft. It certainly is in the area of compassion and empathy. But
Mm.
if I stay true to the outcome that I'm seeking, then I guess how I got there is less important than the fact that we got there. And if it takes a little bit of softness to reach a point of agreement, that's fine with me. Everyone responds to a different approach, and there are people who respond better to an authoritarian approach. I think the younger generations are less and less that way. So I think you're less effective if you don't modify your approach. But in the end, results are what matter. And I think that's a strong statement. I don't think that's a weak statement at all.
It is a strong statement. And I also believe, um, yeah, I mean, generations to generations, the approaches will change. And I believe it is at the both ends. Let's say uh, a millennial manager is managing a people who are from Gen Z, and there's often this debate around how different thought process Gen Z employees have about work life balance, about what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, why should they become a part of the company if they do not find their purpose in that. I think there are so many different thoughts around it, so many different opinions around it. So I think somewhere, in between, if we can find that middle ground or that sweet spot, where both these sides can come and agree that, okay, I do understand, I empathize with what you think. I may personally not agree, but let's not alienate ourselves just based on different opinions, because we have a common goal here, and that common goal will be the company's growth or the profitability or the numbers or whatever it is a target. So I definitely agree with you. I mean, it can sound strong, but that's what the reality is. At the end of the day, you have to make sure that the company is running, it's growing.
The comment on different generations is one that I've heard many, many times. And I've been doing this for an awful long time. So I've seen lots of different generations come through. Every
Mhm.
single generation has been criticized for being lazier than the generation before. And I have found exactly the opposite. I find there are driven, motivated, good people in every generation. And I think our job as leaders is to find them. And if you have to talk to them differently because they're of a different generation, that's okay. That's part of leadership is varying your message.
Exactly. Exactly, 100% Rich. 100%. Lots to learn. I mean, they may not work for 8 or 10 hours on a single project, but they have so many smarter, creative ways to get the job done in a good way, in a better way.
I couldn't agree more.
Okay, so moving on, let's also get the physical fitness part into the picture. Um, okay, in your journey, Rich, how did your physical health? Because since now you are, kind of gaining more and more wisdom, trying to understand longevity here. So I think this question is very very perfect in that sense. How did your physical health impact your leadership, like energy, patience, clarity, or willingness to take risks?
Well, I started out as a jogger like most people did back in the 70s and 80s. And until my knees gave out, I was a regular runner. I then moved into doing some other things. So I've always been active, but somewhere along the line, a gym owner pulled me aside and he said, "You're doing lots of cardio, but you're not doing anything in resistance." And he said, "You're going to find that your stamina is going to improve as you incorporate resistance training into your regimen." And I don't like to lift weights. I didn't then and I don't now, but I do it on a regular basis. And the difference in my stamina, so I'm 76 now, and my stamina, I'll put up against people 10 and 15 years younger on a regular basis. Had I not gotten that advice and had I not forced myself to do resistance exercise in addition to cardio, there's no way I could keep up the pace that I keep up today.
Wow, I think that's a big learning here, for every one of us. Once again, I mean the nimbleness, the flexibility, uh, the kind of the ability to absorb, whether you want to take it or you want to leave it. But if you feel that somebody giving you a good advice or a good suggestion, if you feel that yes, this is definitely going to work, and maybe I have to um, do maybe a huge overhaul, maybe this will help in my growth journey, whether it's physical or mental fitness. I think there is no way to ignore that, and that's what you did, Rich, and that's, I think, something we all can learn from. And if a small business owner, Rich, is listening and they're like, okay, I have no time to work out. I have no time to even think about my health. All I can afford is just somehow able to get that time to have 2 meals in a day. What's your most realistic minimum effective plan for them?
Well, anybody can add a 30-minute walk to their day. Nobody is so busy that they can't do that. And the beauty of a 30-minute walk is that if you'll listen to podcasts or audiobooks while you're walking, you're achieving both mental and physical fitness at the same time. So that's where I'd start.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a good way. That's a good way. And um, let's also come to training. Like your program, it worked so well. You retired and then you left management to your leadership team. What were the core principles you trained that most directly changed outcomes? And what was the hardest one out of all of them?
Interesting question. So
Mm.
I think that our approach to leadership training is so fundamental. Um, Even if people have a college education or an MBA, they may or may not be leaders. So we sought to develop true leaders, and leaders in small business are very different than leaders in big business. I Our program was customized to a group of people who never saw themselves as leaders, and
Mhm.
we helped them first understand what leadership was all about and then move from there. Once we found out what was holding them back from a leadership mindset, it was relatively easy to attack those core things. And so
Mm,
I would say that would be the start. And that's not an easy process because it's different with every individual. But
mm,
the the principles of leadership contained in my book are so down to earth And there's so much common sense that if you read the book, you would go, well, I probably knew that already. Well,
Hmm.
knowing it and practicing it are two
That's
different things. So the book provides a ready kind of a desktop guide for new managers to refer to and say, I'm facing this problem. I think I found the answer in chapter 21. I'm going to put that into practice. And they're so simple that making me put in practice this afternoon.
Hmm. That makes sense. That makes sense. Well, before we excuse me conclude, Rich, kind of a nuanced take. Like some people treat mental and physical fitness like the foundation, but then others treat it like a luxury. So if someone told you like I'll focus on my health after the business stabilizes, what would you say?
I'll go back to the recommendation I got for resistance exercise. I didn't know that I didn't have stamina until I started to have stamina and see the difference. If
Mm.
you are physically and mentally fit, you will be so much more effective at running your business. So I think it's foundational. I don't think it's a luxury. I don't think it's an add-on. I think you should start today.
And what would you say to the opposite person who over optimizes their routine but then avoid real leadership decisions?
Um, again, it's foundational. It's getting the chicken um, before the egg, or getting the cart before the horse.
Okay.
You have to do one to be really effective at the other.
Hmm. They're codependent.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it. Maybe they are.
Great, great. Rich, let's do a quick rapid fire wrap here.
Sure.
Okay, because we are obviously going into the new year, but one mental fitness practice that you would recommend starting in January that takes just under 5 minutes a day.
If you're going to commit to only 5 minutes, then I would do a podcast episode, and I'd commit to doing it every single day, and I'd commit to episodes on a variety of subjects.
Super, super. Thank you for that, Rich. Okay, one physical habit that has the best ROI for busy leaders.
Well,
No,
again, if we're talking about a very short duration, then walking. Walking is the easiest one. It can be done anywhere, and if you combine it with listening to those podcasts, you get more bang for your buck.
Yeah, yeah. Super, super. Movement, movement. Basics are undefeated. And lastly, one leadership mistake you wish more people would stop repeating.
Leading from fear. Fearful leaders are ineffective leaders. They're leaders who are reluctant to make decisions for fear of the outcome. Not only do they not make effective decisions, but everyone who works around them, their peers and their staff, know they're a fearful leader, and they're compromised from the beginning.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a really, really good point. And I think it really hits because avoidance, it would feel easier. It would feel really good, like relieved today. But then it's definitely going to cost you hard tomorrow, listeners. So, Rich, thank you, first of all, for bringing real world leadership, empathy, sharing your journey to a conversation, that usually gets turned into just posters or reels or whatever. But of course, if listeners they would like to get a hold of your book and connect with you, what would be the easiest way?
The website is growingyourown.net. The book is Growing Your Own. And if they want to contact me directly, my email is rich@growingyourown.net.
Superb, listeners. As you all know, I'll have all the links mentioned in the show notes. So just get down to them along with this episode on whichever platform you listen to your podcast to. And to everyone listening out during holidays or heading on to the new year, if you are feeling behind, you're not broken, but you are a human. So start small, protect your energy, train your mind like it matters because it does. Move your body like it's your teammate. because it is. And if today's episode with Rich gave you a moment of clarity, share it with someone who's building something but quietly struggling. And if you want more conversations like this, practical, mindful, honest, follow the mindful journey with host Sana. Until next time, this is your host Sana signing off. Thank you.